Hello everybody and welcome to another Zel live public meeting. Today on October 6th we're going to be going over ZelID and its imminent release. We'll be talking a little bit about ZelNodes and the updates, sort of timeline information, maybe a little bit of release information and where we are with them. We're talking about the new ZelCore features for this release, the foundation setup, and we've also got a little bit more info on a blog and forum as well. So in the desktop release notes for ZelCore, this is version 1.1.1. It'll be released either later today or probably Sunday. We've fixed a small bug where the back button in full node was not properly working, meaning that Daemon was still running in some cases. And it was a bug almost by design, but it was sort of improved with what we now call Smart Portfolio. So before, if you logged in on another device, your preferences weren't obviously saved because we don't store any user information. So the coins you would have selected weren't actually coming up. So if you had a balance, they wouldn't show up. So you have to go and find and remember the coins you had. So with the solution of Smart Portfolio, which we'll get into a little bit more detail about in a minute, it lets you scan all your addresses, and then if you actually have a balance of a certain coin, it will add it to your portfolio. And if you don't have a balance, you have the option to have it removed. So ZelID is being released, allowing easy login, and on the mobile side of things, biometrics. Dash has been added in both light and full node, and many full node binaries have been updated. So Daemon's been updated because of the Bitcoin source code patch that came out. Got a new interactive donut as well. It's been around for a little bit for testers, but that's come to reality, where it sort of breaks out the balance and have a play with it. It's what we think is a little bit smarter. And then obviously the Smart Portfolio button, as mentioned before. Parker?
Yeah, so we're going to show off some of the features that Miles just talked about for the mobile side, mobile part, mostly ZelID and what that really means. It kind of shines through a little bit on mobile because I know people were pretty excited about being able to do things like biometrics and whatnot. So Miles touched on it a little bit, but just again, the D2FA, it's going to be part of mobile. It gives you a PIN to access both your account login, to send a transaction, things like that. So you got another layer of security and protection. And that floats on the blockchain, so it's not device specific. So if you have it enabled on your desktop, you'll also have it set up for your mobile. And then we also have easy login, which is what you're going to want to set up for your biometrics, like a fingerprint to access your account. You can also do a user selectable passphrase if you prefer that method. And again, that's another layer of security for logging into your ZelCore. And then some of the new features added, like Miles said, the new portfolio ring, it's easier to read, it's clear, jumps out more. You can tap each asset and it'll show you inside the ring that specific asset's value. Dash was added as an asset, and also the ability to do crypto note coins is slowly but surely working its way out. So we have that ability now. Let's see, and Daniel said we can add all ERC20 tokens, so please tell us if there's more tokens you'd like added to ZelCore. And one big new feature that hasn't been discussed too much is the Smart Portfolio. This way you can go into your settings and just at the hit of a button, you smartify your portfolio and it scans all addresses associated with your account. And if there is an account, or sorry, if there's a wallet that has assets in it that isn't currently added to your portfolio, it adds that so you don't lose an asset on accident by removing it from your portfolio, things like that. So that's a fun little feature that people can use to scan all their addresses. And then how about Daniel for the ZelNodes update?
Yeah, I know nobody wants an update on this, so maybe we can just skip it. Just kidding. Guys, I know everybody's looking for updates on ZelNodes, so we actually have some pretty decent set of updates for you here. ZelNodes will be released Q4, so we're thinking the mid-November timeframe. To accomplish that, the test net is going to be essential for node rollout. So currently we are working on implementing our test net and getting that up and running and functioning. And we have our blueprint for the node structure coming into play. The way that we see the nodes rolling out is really a three-phased approach, and I think anybody would be crazy to think that you could, just tune these things up and just have everything all at once. So what we would like to do, as you guys have seen with ZelCore, is do an iterative process where we go through three different phases. So phase one, essentially, the major focuses of the node infrastructure will be the ZelCore infrastructure. So what we use to run ZelCore, network validation. So obviously validating the network as well and building a greater network. And of course, will also be the backbone for the Zel exchange. So we'll talk more about that in coming meetings, but all node classes will go live with the test net and then main net once the benchmarks are placed and structure is secured. So we're going to once we've got the test net up and running and we're functioning and it's where we want it and we decide to go live, we are going to make sure that we have our network validation tools in place as well. So as we've talked about in the past, to be able to run a Zel node, you have to provide infrastructural backbone, and that means you have to meet a set of criteria for the nodes. So during this first phase it's going to be very crucial for us to be able to benchmark those, and that'll also give us a real analytical data so that we can understand what our TPS is and we can continue to kind of keep building on that infrastructure. Phase two will happen in Q2 of 2019, and please keep in mind, other than phase one, phase two, and phase three are very speculatory. We're not 100% positive when these timelines will hit. We're thinking in our best guesses, and I think we've been pretty good at guessing. These are the timelines we're looking at. The first of phase one, like I said, in November. Phase two would be Q2 of 2019, and that would include Zel curated dApps. Now, people are going to ask, what's Zel curated dApps? It's us being able to approve and scale the network appropriately with apps that are built on the Zel infrastructure that we will approve as they move forward. Now, once the infrastructure continues to grow, and Miles can expand on this a bit with his ideas as well, but our ultimate goal is to have this being a self-governed model. So nobody really is controlling the dApps that are being added or removed. It's consensus based, and whatever's being added to that platform will go through that process. But at least as we continue to scale, we know we're going to have to control that in phase two. Phase three is tentatively scheduled for Q4 2019 and will include the ZelDev platform integration. So that's our ZelDev platform, as we've talked about in the past. I'd like to add that we have several new community devs that are now working with us, and we have identified additional ones that will be joining in the process to continue to keep developing the node infrastructure. We are currently, and this is a shameless plug, we are currently recruiting a couple full stack devs. So if you know somebody that's looking or is currently on a different project or looking to expand maybe what they're doing, please have them reach out to us and let us know. But for us to meet our guideline, our goals, and the roadmap we have out there, we're in pretty good shape. We just need to continue to keep building our team. Miles, do you have anything you want to add on that?
Sure. to sort of illustrate on different phases. So phase one, and sort of as Daniel went over it, we're basically looking to get the core infrastructure for us then to be able to update effectively and efficiently as we sort of move forward and building the new phases. We want to have the sort of update and node control process and sort of the ownership of nodes be as simple and pain-free as possible. So we're going to spend time making sure that the tools to set up a node and the management of them is, you know, very simple and clean, and we sort of reduce the amount of updates to the absolute necessary. We'll probably be on a timeline similar to ZelCore every 2 to 4 weeks as we build forward. The big thing that for the phase 3 to sort of come into effect is working out the economics and the economic incentives to ensure, you know, the network's properly secured in a way that allows actual dApps to be developed and for people not to be able, for example, to execute a denial of service spam attacks on the network. So as we work those out, as we move forward, and obviously we have to develop the technology for phase 3, we will be moving forward to what looks like a quarter 4 2019, could be a Q3 or it could be a Q1 2020, but that's the sort of timeline we're looking at for the release of phase 3. But the initial release of nodes is going to be, as Daniel pointed out, mid to late November. Daniel, do you want to talk a little bit about the Zel Foundation and where that's moving?
Yeah, so as we identified in previous meetings, the Zel Foundation being established, and the allocation of resources to the foundation. What we're looking to do now is to put together and form the board. Essentially, what we're going to do for the first board is we're going to provide recommendations that we put forward. None of the core team will be participating in the foundation, and essentially what we're doing is looking at community members. We're looking at people that would be great assets to the foundation, both legally and professionally, and we're going to solicit those individuals to participate in that process. Now, with that being said, the foundation is a community-based process, so there is a consensus model that we'll have to put in place, and once we've recommended the first round of board seats that will oversee that, it has to be approved by the community, and then once they're in place, that'll be a regular cycle that will be derived from the community and what their model looks up. So they could be every year, every 2 years, every 3 years, whatever the community determines the board is going to be. Their major responsibility is going to be to ensure that there is community involvement and development in the Zel ecosystem. And it is also the charitable arm as well. So the goal is that at some point they're going to be able to, very, very, very soon, like literally within the next few weeks, be able to start handing out grants to individuals that are looking to develop in the Zel ecosystem. So if anybody's familiar with what NEO did in the NEO Council, it's somewhat similar to that, but we're actually working to develop that ecosystem directly. And it does not, ZelCore has no relationship with the foundation, and we did that by design to make sure that the community has a voice as the project moves forward. So we mentioned the board members, and the grants will be given for necessary ZelCash projects. So that would be one of the examples is the node development work. So we had to bring in trusted partners that would be able to help us continue to grow this, and part of that is to have the foundational input and contribution as that as well. So that starts to take shape. The foundation starts to take shape really quickly within the next 2 weeks, because we will have a forum that it's somewhat similar. If you've ever experienced the ZCash forum, it's somewhat similar to that, and that's kind of where our granting process will land. People can also contribute and make requests there as well. I think that's all I have on the foundation, Miles.
Thanks, Dan. So, Parker, do you want to talk about the blog?
Yeah, not much to it. The blog is something that was, a long time coming, just a little bit limited on resources, but the blog will be a way, like other projects have done, to kind of spread out some news about new features for ZelCore, explanation of things like ZelNodes, possibly guides on how the swing wallet works for people trying to move to ZelCore. Pretty much anything that we can come up with that answers a question or multiple questions we've had on Discord, Twitter, etc. So there's no posts yet, but it will be on Medium, and there's an account set up. And in the next few days, I'll start writing some content as we go forward. And the first one I would like to write up is how and why to use ZelID going forward, and what it really means for the project. So I'll post those links as the blog posts get put up.
And I think one element, sort of the community, could also be assisting in the maintenance of this blog, sort of providing written content in, I'd say, multiple languages. And the other community outreach piece of this would be sort of potential translations and stuff like that as well. So that does play into our bi-weekly community Q&A on Discord. So we're going to have the core team jump into the voice channels on Discord. Parker, are you going to be recording this one?
No, Miles, I don't think we're going to record the live or the chat.
All right, we'll jump into that chat then, and we'll see you guys there. That sort of does it for this week. So thank you everyone that showed up live. And before we close, big appreciation for the piece to the testers, the moderators, and the community as a whole, helping sort of guide the vision that sort of curated a few months back, and helping ZelCash really grow and become sort of what it is today. I think we see a lot of positivity, we see a lot of feedback and sort of suggestions, and we take all of those into account. So it's a nice smile, I think, on the whole team's face that we have a nice, great community that is a good fun to be around and talk to and sort of be a part of. So thank you, everybody. That's it for this week. Bye-bye.